Hey everybody, quick channel update before we get into this month's roundup. The next video after this one will be about Supergirl, Red Daughter of Krypton, and that is going to mark the end of my weekly upload schedule. Maintaining that kind of pace is way more work and pressure than you think. And it finally caught up with me, so I'm just not going to do it anymore. Once Supergirl is out, I will have posted a new video every week for 17 weeks, and I'm proud of that. But I know my limits, and trying to keep these deadlines is bad for me, so that's the end of that. I'm still going to make all of the things I wanted to make, I'm just not promising any specific release dates. They'll come out when they're done, and they'll be worth the wait. But for now, all I want to do is get as far away from a regular upload schedule as possible, which is why this will be the final monthly Green Lantern Roundup. I've honestly been thinking about ending the roundup for a while, but I kept going because I know you all like it so much. New Green Lantern stuff gets released and announced all throughout the month, so there's never really a time when I'm not working on a roundup video. Plus, DC and Warner Brothers have this really annoying habit of waiting until the last day or two of the month to announce new Green Lantern things, which means I can't afford to finish a video a week or two before its scheduled release date like I do with everything else. I have to work on the video in bits and pieces over the course of the month, and then hurry up and do a ton of work to finish it up on the day before it has to go live. And that sucks. And I think the reason I've been able to endure it for so long is because it was really just one day of stressful work per month. But in the larger context of working to maintain a weekly upload schedule for 17 weeks, 4 of which have been roundup videos, it let me clearly see that in the long run, the best thing for me and for the channel is to completely remove any semblance of a strict, structured upload schedule. And as much as part of me wants to keep going, I'm okay with ending it here, because this series of videos has already achieved what I set out to do. I started the roundup to prove wrong all the people who complain that DC hates or neglects Green Lantern, and I believe I've done that. Look at the roundup from any given month. Look at all the piles of new comics featuring Green Lanterns. Look at how many figures and statues and appearances in TV and movies these characters get on a regular basis. It's not Batman levels of exposure, but it's still really good. What doing the roundup has taught me is that it's not a matter of DC not using Green Lantern, it's a matter of DC using Green Lantern in a way that's different from the super specific way that some very vocal people want Green Lantern to be used. And if they want to stay mad about it, that's their business. But it's not going to change the fact that the lanterns are everywhere, and a lot of it is really good. If you're someone who uses these roundup videos to keep up to date on what new Green Lantern stuff is coming out, I recommend you follow me on Twitter at Mosaic Comics, because that's the other place where I keep track of all the Lantern-related solicitations and releases. This doesn't mean that there will no longer be videos about current events on this channel. Some of the topics that get talked about in passing in each roundup will most likely get their own dedicated videos once the story arcs are over, like Dark Crisis or Justice League vs. Legion, for example. So you're not going to be missing out on any content. The only difference is I won't be using the roundup as a catch-all to talk about all of it at once anymore. And I'll mostly be talking about complete story arcs instead of checking in on them every month. The one exception to that is any new Lantern book we get. I'm still gonna do video reviews of any new issues of any Lantern books, probably a week or two after they come out, but again, there's no rush. So Supergirl is next week, a few weeks later will be the next question and answer video, we've got that John Stewart one-shot coming in November, and other than that, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. This isn't about one video series ending, it's about everything else continuing in a much better way. With all that said, I think it's time to get into the Green Lantern Roundup for August 2022, which once again is jam-packed with new releases and announcements for future releases. Dark Crisis number 3 sees the Green Lantern Corps arrive in Sector 666, where they find the Black Lantern Central Battery, good as new, standing on the planet Riot. Hal knew to come here because Black Adam mentioned that Nekron was one of the villains who killed the Justice League, and now that the entire Green Lantern Corps has gathered, Hal decides to just leave them there and go take care of things by himself. Which, okay, I believe Hal Jordan would do that, but Come on, you really brought the entire Corps just to leave them outside? Kyle and Joe realize how stupid that is, so they go in with Hal, leaving the rest of the Corps to guard the door and destroy the Black Central Battery if things go badly. Which doesn't make sense, because Blackest Night showed us that Green Lanterns physically can't destroy Black Lantern stuff by themselves. They have to combine their light with at least one other Corps, which makes the continuity of this event even more frustrating because they currently share a home world with the Blue Lanterns and the Star Sapphires. This whole thing feels like a poorly thought out plan that makes sense for Hal to come up with, since he usually acts without thinking and just assumes it'll all work out. But the rest of the Corps just going along with it seems weird. Kyle and Joe shouldn't have been the only ones to go in with Hal. If anything, they should have taken half the Corps in with them and left the other half to guard the door. And the image of them being transported through the battery to Pariah's home base is excellent. They're tumbling down the page while being confronted by the distorted vision of themselves as Black Lanterns, and it looks great! They find Pariah standing in front of the globes containing each member of the Justice League. And while Kyle and Joe attack, Hal grabs the globe with John's Green Lantern symbol on it, only to be sucked inside of it himself. So now Hal is trapped inside of the fantasy world built to imprison John, except he seems to be in his right mind, although his ring appears to be gone. And that would seem to lead us into Dark Crisis Worlds Without a Justice League Green Lantern #1, a one-shot taking place entirely inside of that fantasy world. I've already done an entire review of this issue, which I'll link to at the end of this video, but suffice to say that this is in no way a continuation of the events of Dark Crisis #3. Rather, it's a look at what John Stewart's ideal life would actually be like. If you're looking for something that builds on the story of Dark Crisis, this issue probably isn't for you. But if you're in the market for a nice Elseworlds one-shot about someone getting their ideal life, you might like this. Also, there's a Hawkgirl backup story that I think is way better than the John Stewart stuff, but you can watch my other video for more on all of that. You can also go listen to episode 488 of the Lantern Cast, where I joined Chad and Mark to talk all about this one-shot as well as Dark Crisis issues 2 and 3. Multiversity Teen Justice #3 takes 2 steps forward and 1 step back in terms of explaining the Green Lanterns of Earth 11. Aquagirl is on the Star Sapphire homeworld and finds an underground cave filled with exposition about all the Earth 11 Lantern Corps. She also finds a big pile of Green Lantern rings and what seems to be a dead Hal Ferris. This is the point where I realized that this book is trying to do too much. It's the only book focusing on Earth 11, and it's trying to develop that entire universe, even though there isn't enough space in this 6-issue miniseries to do that. As a result, I come away from this issue's info dump with way more questions than answers, and I don't know that this miniseries will have the time to address any of them before it's over. This issue establishes that the Earth 11 Green Lantern Corps isn't anti-women, it's anti-Star Sapphire, which honestly feels to me like an overly literal misinterpretation of what happened in the Grant Morrison run of Green Lantern. But the bright side is that it allows for female Green Lanterns to continue to exist in this world, which should open the door for the return of Kylie Rayner, the female version of Kyle Rayner, who was the very first Earth 11 Green Lantern we ever met. Except that as soon as this issue explains why there can still be female Green Lanterns, it immediately shows us the Earth 11 male counterpart of Kyle Rayner. And that's just great. But hey, at least they're trying, which is more than I can say for what's been going on with the Gold Lantern. At this point, I feel like Justice League vs. Legion of Superheroes #5 is just taunting me, because we finally get a scene where Batman studies the Gold Lantern's ring, running it through the Hall of Justice computer, actively trying to find answers and tell us something about the Gold Lantern and what it has to do with this story. And all we get out of it is the vague statement that this ring from the future isn't like any of the other rings we have in the present. That's it. No context as to what that means. Is it different because the way power rings are made changes in the next 1,000 years? Is it different because it's not actually a power ring? Is it different because of where it draws power from? I don't know, because the issue decided this was the best possible time to reveal who the main villain of the arc is, and it's a reveal that means nothing to me because all of the events of this miniseries feel like a jumbled mess of nothing happening, despite this issue assuring us that everything we've seen up to now had a purpose. I'll have to see it to believe it, because right now I don't. There is one issue left, so anything of value that this series has to offer must be in that final issue, if that value exists at all. Hopefully once it's out, we'll finally know something about the Gold Lantern, and I'll have enough to make another Gold Lantern video. The Swamp Thing number 16 wraps up Ram V's run on the series, and while Hal Jordan doesn't play a part in the final issue, the story continues to be a meditation on what it means to be guided by emotions like hope, greed, and willpower when we have infinite potential to walk any path we choose. It's a fascinating read, and one of the best justifications for a Green Lantern crossover I think I've ever seen. So if you haven't tried it already, go read The Swamp Thing by Ram V, and then listen to episode 491 of the Lantern Cast, where I joined Chad and Mark to talk all about it. Something I've been really looking forward to is Deceased War of the Undead Gods number 1, and it successfully lived up to my expectations. This issue is purely set up, reminding people new and old what happened to the world and what the new normal is, all while introducing new characters like Jessica Cruz, Guy Gardner, and John Stewart, and giving the whole thing a feeling that most people wouldn't expect from a piece of zombie fiction. I think the general expectation for this kind of story is that it'll be filled with nihilism and despair, but even with the final threat looming, this issue manages to remain hopeful. We see the remaining heroes achieve something I never even considered to be a possibility, and they're stronger now than they ever have been at any point in the story. Deceased is in a really good place right now because it's been around long enough to have a lot of its own unique history and characterization, all of which feels more substantial because there's a clear endpoint that the whole thing is working towards. This isn't the main universe, and it isn't going to continue on forever, meaning that the status quo has no power here. Which, yeah, does mean that nobody is guaranteed to be safe, but it also means that nobody's growth is restricted either. Legacy is my favorite thing about DC, and that concept means something entirely different in this kind of environment. In a lot of ways, the story of Deceased gives me something that I've always wanted from the main DC universe, but can never truly have. And as long as it keeps delivering, the next 7 months are gonna be awesome. Far Sector has been nominated for Book of the Year for the 2022 Harvey Awards. This run has received new life ever since it was all collected into a single volume. All of a sudden, people who don't read Green Lantern are flocking to this book. Many of them may not even read monthly comics at all, but enjoy the other works of N.K. Jemisin and are having a great time with it. If you're wondering why Joe has received so much attention lately, it's because of Far Sector's ability to appeal to people outside of the usual fan base and bring them in. Far Sector reaches audiences that other Green Lantern comics don't, which is good for Green Lantern overall and lets our fandom see some much needed healthy growth. But now let's talk about something that's not healthy. So remember back in April when Funko decided to make some ultra rare pops of fan favorite characters, and the only way to get them was to waste a ton of money on digital NFT card packs, and the only way to get a physical Kyle Rayner pop would be to randomly pull a Kyle Rayner NFT card that only has a 1.62% chance of appearing? Well, they're doing it again, and this time with a group of pops that include President Superman, Connor Hawk Green Arrow, and Hal Jordan Parallax. The process is the same as last time. Blow as much money on NFTs as possible, and maybe you'll get that Parallax pop. This entire business model boils down to the idea that you've got a 1.70% chance of essentially winning this pop in a lottery. I don't know about you, but I think gambling to win exclusive Funko Pops is stupid, especially since these are the exact kinds of pops we've wanted to see made for years, but instead all we get is other DC characters wearing lantern rings. They finally do a Green Lantern Kyle Rayner, a Connor Hawk, a Hal as Parallax, and instead of just making them and selling them, they become fodder for this crap. All because someone realized that the amount of money people would waste buying NFT card packs is likely more money than they would make by selling these as actual products. I had hoped that the first round of this would be the end of it, but it appears to have been successful enough that this isn't going anywhere. Funko isn't interested in selling you a product anymore. They want your money in exchange for the 1% chance that they'll have to give you something of value in return. And with such low chances of actually getting what you want, this entire system is set up so that you'll just keep giving Funko free money over and over and over again until you either go broke or give up. If you want to see something that's the exact opposite of what Funko is doing, take a look at this awesome surprise from McFarlane Toys. They revived the old Super Powers line with a wave of modern figures including Superman, Batman, Darkseid, and Green Lantern John Stewart as $10 Walmart exclusives. The quality and price point are perfect for both nostalgic collectors and kids who like playing with superheroes. This is really cool, and I hope it's successful enough to see more waves of characters added to the line. And if you want to see an in-depth review of the John Stewart figure, go watch Donnie's video on the Emerald Enthusiast YouTube channel. I'll link to it at the end of this video and in the description down below. Now to close things out, let's take a look at DC's November solicitations. Everybody who misses the ongoing Green Lantern book should keep an eye out for John Stewart The Emerald Knight #1, a 48-page one-shot by Jeffrey Thorne and Marco Santucci, picking up where Green Lantern #12 left off. Multiversity Team Justice #6 is ending the team's struggle against Sinestro. Dark Crisis is almost over, and it's time for the big dumb battle with 1,000 characters, including a ton of Green Lanterns, in the pages of Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths #6. Then there's Dark Crisis Warzone #1, a 48-page one-shot that's going to zoom in and look at the big battle from the perspective of different characters. There are 3 covers, and Green Lanterns are all over all of them, so I would expect to at least see Hal and Joe get some spotlight here. Also, the solicitation doesn't say it, but I expect this issue to be an anthology, just based on the premise and the large number of writers and artists listed in the credits. Then, in I Am Batman #15, the Jace Fox Batman fights Sinestro for some reason, and I'm all for it. The one issue of this book I've read was good, and it's been a long time since Sinestro just popped up as a villain in someone else's book like this. Also, considering Batman's relationship with fear, getting to see this new Batman confront Sinestro has a lot of potential for interesting character exploration, so sign me up. DC Mech #5 finally spotlights Hal Jordan, John Stewart, and the mech they pilot together. Preview pages indicate that Hal is the only one who can drive this thing, but John is the only one who can make the weapon system generate constructs. I love the idea of one mech that needs the combination of both of their specialties to function properly. Green Lantern meets Pacific Rim is absolutely something I need in my life. Batman Fortress #7 sees Badge continue to help Batman fight off an alien invasion. What Christopher Chance did to Guy Gardner finally catches up with him in the Human Target #9. Lanterns like Kyle Rayner and Dinah Lance give everything they have as cosmic war erupts in Deceased War of the Undead Gods #4 and 5. And then, finally, after far too much waiting, the JSA returns in their own ongoing series. It starts off with a one-shot titled The New Golden Age, which sets up Justice Society of America #1, as well as a new Stargirl miniseries focusing on teenage heroes carrying on Golden Age legacies. And all 3 of these books will be written by Jeff Johns. So there we go. There is a ton of new Green Lantern content coming out, and all of that is just what's coming in November. Green Lantern is in a healthy place, no matter what anyone says to try and put a negative spin on it. There's a difference between mismanaging a brand and just not catering to a specific taste. And I don't know about you, but I'm excited about most of the things I just listed. So yeah, Green Lantern continues to shine bright. So that's the Green Lantern Roundup for August 2022. If you have something to say about any of these topics, or if there's anything you think I missed, let's keep the conversation going in the comment section down below. Once again, if you want to continue keeping up to date on new Green Lantern releases, you can follow me on Twitter at Mosaic Comics. And remember, nothing lasts forever, but something coming to an end just frees up more room for new good stuff. I hope you're looking forward to it as much as I am. So thank you for taking the time to watch this series of videos. My name is Dan, we'll talk again soon.